What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr War Games, and today I am bringing you the combo for Traptrix that leads you into a Therion King Regulus. Now, a lot of you might be aware that people are putting the Therion stuff into the deck, but you might not have seen how they do it or why they do it. So please smash that like button, hit that notification bell and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content, and I will show you exactly that. After that, I'll do a couple of test runs as well so you can kind of see how the deck operates and how it works with the particular Therion engine. So, the base combo you need is Pudika or another plant Traptrix monster. Specifically needs to be plant. The only other one you main deck is Dianea. So we've gone with the Pudika one here. And then you need either Parallel XZs or a Phantom Knight Shade Brigandine is the best one because it doesn't require you to have an additional trap card. Alternatively, it can be Pudika plus an additional Traptrix monster and then a trap card. So you'll see as we play it out, and then I'll show you throughout the test stands how consistently you can make it. So we'll do it with the Parallel XZs. The Phantom Knight of Shade Brigandine does the exact same thing. It's all about getting a rank 4 on the board. So you're also on the Pudika, you would naturally search out the field spell, but it's going to be irrelevant in this particular play because we're not going to need it or use it unless you've already opened up with another Traptrix monster. So you link the Pudika off, and of course you're going to go into your main card of Sarah. Now the other way of doing this is you can get Sarah to the graveyard, but you kind of want to keep it there. So obviously on the summon of Sarah, you would activate the Parallel XZs, or in the Trap example, you'd activate this, which would trigger Sarah. XZs would then resolve, summoning out a second copy of itself from the deck, and that gives you instant access to the rank 4. Now the rank 4 we're going to make is the Spring Gun Merry, I believe it's like Merry Carrier or Merry Courier. Now annoyingly, I don't have it. I tried looking everywhere for it, but the idea is you're just getting a Spring Guns XYZ on the board, and the reason that's important is because you can then rank on top into a Sargus. Now this is really kind of cool because Sargus will also give you that ability of getting into a 2 board wipe Zeus as well. So the Sargus can be ranked on top of a Spring Guns XYZ monster, which is why you need the rank 4. You don't need to detach any materials for you to add a Therion monster from the deck to the hand, and obviously the one you're going to want to search out is going to be the Therion Lily Boreal. Now Lily Boreal will then use her effect to target the Pudika in the graveyard to attach it to her and special summon herself. You'll then use the Lily Boreal effect to send it from the field to the graveyard, and this will search you out a Therion spell, which will be Disc Colosseum. You'll activate Disc Colosseum, this will search you out the Therion King Regulus, and then you'll use the Therion King Regulus to target the Lily in the graveyard and equip it to itself. So now you've got a nice little Omni Negate on the back of the Regulus. Now this is why it's important to specifically have a plant in the graveyard, and it's also why, unless you want to be playing more Therions, you have to send the Lily off her own effect to put her in the graveyard so that Regulus can attach to it. That being said, if you're then able, for example, if in this opening hand you did have a Shade Brigandine, you could then activate the Shade Brigandine and then you add to the end board on top of this effect of Sarah, get you any Traptrix. Let's go with Mamelo because then Mamelo can mandatory trigger, and let's get a Floodgate from the deck. Where are you, Floodgate? There we go. And then you can overlay those into Rafflesia. And then the best thing about this, or even a reader if you wanted to, the best thing about this is if you detach a material from an XYZ, which will ideally be your Rafflesia or your Redoer, you'll then be able to trigger the Sargus effect, which has a really nice effect that if a material is detached from a monster or monsters on the field, except during damage step, you get to target card on the field and either destroy it or return it to the hand. So it's a nice little bounce if your opponent wants it to be destroyed, and it's a nice destruction if you want to make sure they don't have access to it. So it's a really nice kind of way of doing it, because in theory what you could do is you could, if you left Floodgate in the deck or you used a second Floodgate, use Rafflesia, detach, book and moon your opponent's monster, and then the Sargus will then pop that monster. So you've got double ways of getting rid of it. So with that combo said and done, like if you've seen enough, by all means you can jump off. I hope you don't, I hope you stay along, because I'm going to do some test stands with this as well. We'll do one guy in first and one guy in second, just so you can kind of see a quick straight flow into it. Now the issue is that the combo becomes a little bit tricky if you open up one of the pieces, because, I mean, well, not the end of the world. If you open up the Regulus, it's absolutely fine, because then you can still go through the Lily play and everything else. But it will become a brick if you can't get the Therion King Regulus to the board, or you can't get the Lily to the board or something like that. So after a decent shuffle and a good old cut, we are going to show you a test stand going first, being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wow, okay, Arachna Camper loves it. Now the issue we've got with this hand like here is we haven't got a plant to get to the graveyard. It's a bit of a disappointing that most of our XYZs, apart from Sarah and Corlia, are insects, they're not plants. So that's where it kind of does become a bit of a tricky situation. But you can go into the Pinicula. Pinicula can then get her search effect, and then that's how you can then link her off into Sarah and guarantee you've got a plant in the graveyard. So what you want to do here is you want to normal summon the Mantis. You're going to use Mantis effect to search you out. Now I'm probably going to search out... I mean, it's all about follow-up for the next turn. Usually you would search out an Atrax, but I've already got the Atrax. So I'll probably search out a Momelo just for the follow-up of the next turn. I can special the other one from the deck. You're then going to link Mantis away, and you're going to go into your Sarah. This will then be able to trigger the Parallel Xyz. This will summon down and then summon another copy from the deck. Now, usually, if Mantis was a plant, which sadly it isn't, you'd have your Therion play on board already, but it's not. So the next best option you could go for is you can go for the Pinicula. In doing so, she will then allow you to search out an additional card or an additional monster, triggering a Traptrix effect, which will trigger Sarah's effect, and we'll be able to do the play all again. You could go into a Rafflesia if you want to, but I'd kind of want to end the board on Rafflesia because otherwise I'm just wasting it for the sake of wasting it. So we're going to detach a material on this one here, and we're going to search out a Traptrix monster. So again, we'll go for a follow-up of the next turn for the Pudica, and then we'll trigger Sarah's effect, which will let us set a Trap Pole card, and we're going to set the Holotea because we've got a dead evenly matched in the hand that we can very easily get rid of. Now at this point what you want to do is you can link the Pinicula off if you want to, or you can link it off with the Sarah to go into the Claria. It really depends on which route you want to go, but for this one we'll just go for double Sarah. And then what this will allow you to do is this then gives you the ability to pretty much go as far as you want with everything you need to. So we've got the plant in the graveyard, so we're going to activate the Holotea, we're going to discard the evenly matched. This will trigger Sarah's effect, which will allow us to special summon a Traptrix from the deck. So on this one, I'm probably going to go for, I mean, it doesn't make much of a difference, but we'll go for Dioneer. At least with Dioneer, actually no we won't, because I haven't got another whole card to reset. We'll go for, I mean, it doesn't really make too much of a difference. Let's go with Atrax. And then this is when you're going to overlay into the Spriggans rank 4, and then overlay on top the Spriggans rank 4 to go into your Sargus. Sargus effect will then trigger to search, or you can then choose to trigger to search out your Lily. And then Lily, target the Pinicula. You then send Lily to get you the field spell. Activate the field spell, wrong field spell. Activate the field spell, search out Regulus. Regulus effect, target the Lily. And there you go, you've got your Omni Negate. Now obviously you would have loved to have got a little bit more, like I could just special summon down the Arachnocamper if I want to, but you're better off holding this for the next turn, because then this will allow you to drop it down. The other downside of making Sargus with the Holotea is you kind of trap your materials under it. That's the biggest disappointment or disadvantage of this one, but it's just something to show you. Again, so I just wanted to kind of show you that test end of how you can make it with you know, an awkward hand, not the ideal hand that you might want to be seeing, but it kind of shows you that it can give you another aggressive push, and it can also give you a very nice defensive push as well. So for another shuffle up, what we'll do this time is we'll go second. So I just wanted to keep this a short, sweet, simple combo video, and then kind of show the consistencies of that particular combo and how the rest of the deck can operate. So after another shuffle and another cut, we'll now go second, being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, that's a really interesting hand. I mean, it's not a big issue. Like going second, we sacrifice our battle phase. Like I really don't mind. Like unless my opponent's got an Omni Negate on the board, I'm going to evenly match my opponent. Like there's no doubt about that. Evenly matching, sacrifice my battle phase, don't really mind. I'm not going to push for an OTK anyway. Then what you want to do here is you can normal summon your Momelo. Momelo's effect will now trigger. This will allow you to search out a Trap Pole card. So I'm going to search out Floodgate. Annoyingly, we've got Dioneer stuck in the hand, which is kind of something you want in the deck, because then you could trigger it and then reset the Floodgate. But it's not the end of the world. We're going to turn our Momelo into Sarah. We'll then be able to set our Holotea, activate the Holotea, getting rid of the Shade Brigandine. Special summon a monster from the deck, so we're going to go for, I mean, the mandatory trio is ideally going to be the best one, which will be the Momelo. So we'll go for Momelo. Mandatory trigger, attempt to pop a back row that our opponent may or may not have. If they left a trap card or a spell trap card, then obviously Momelo gets rid of it. If not, doesn't really matter. This will then trigger Sarah's effect, which will get you another trap hole card. So we'll go for the Nightmare. Now again, this is where you really kind of want Dianea in the graveyard, but having the Mellow is not bad either. And then it's entirely up to you. Now I can go into Time Thief Redoer if I want to. I can go in for the Penigula. The issue is, even with the Penigula, you've pretty much used everything you can to get another rank 4 onto the board. So you're going to want to make this as defensive as you possibly can. And I think I'm actually going to try and go for the Colaria play, so I can show you how the Vernisylph and Flower Buds work. So, do I want Rafflesia or do I just go direct into Colaria? I'm just going to probably go directly into Colaria, just so that I can show you the Vernisylph Flower Bud. So like, let's say our opponent left the back row, we've cleared that off. If they've left the monster, we're still going to be able to get rid of it with the Vernisylph. So we're in a good position. And then we'll have the Dianea as well for a follow-up. Of the next turn. So even if they clear, we're good to go. So set the Floodgate. Pass, but in the end phase we use Colaria's effect. This will then bring back the Mellow. So now we've got a monster special summon from the graveyard, which means the Vernisylph Flower Buds is active. And then we're going to pass our opponent's turn. So if our opponent does anything, we've got 2 Floodgates that can really stop them, and then Colaria will reset it. And because we've activated a Floodgate, this is where Atrax kind of comes into play. And it's probably where you might have wanted a Mantis instead of the Mellow, because Mantis will then be able to bounce it back. You'd summon out an Atrax and you'll be good to rock and roll. Regardless, let's say we activate Floodgate. We Floodgate our opponent's monster straight away. This would then trigger Sarah's effect. It would also trigger Colaria's effect. So Colaria will reset the trap hole, and then you can choose to go for the Penigula, or you could go for a Mantis, or you could go for any other Traptrix monster really. I'm going to go for the Mantis just because I have that ability to trigger the Mantis effect at any point. So I can go, okay, cool, trigger Mantis effect, bounce the trap hole, and then by bouncing the trap hole, I can trigger Sarah's effect, which will set me the Holotea. And if I wanted to, I could activate the Holotea this turn by getting rid of the Traptrix, but I'm not going to do that, because what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to show you how you get 2 off of this now. So you banish the Holotea. Holotea will bring you back the Memello. Let me just double check this isn't with different names. Up to number of Earth monsters you control. Different names. No! Okay, that's a little bit disappointing. The ideal one is if this isn't Memello, like this is a different name, you've now got a guaranteed of 2 monsters with different names on the board, and then you'd activate the Flower Buds, and then the Flower Buds would let you bounce back 2 cards, and then it would put the 2 cards back into your hand. So let's say Mantis was the one that was summoned from the deck, summoned from the graveyard, sorry. You'd then be able to bounce these both back. Or I suppose that's where Penigula would probably come in a little bit better if it was in the graveyard, but anyway, you'd bounce those 2 back. You could then bounce back 2 cards your opponent's control, still leave them with a Floodgated one. And then during the end phase, if you've got any more Traptrix in the grave, they're going to come back off the Colaria. And then you get to move back to your next turn. And that's where you've got a Holotea set up, ready to go, without having to discard. You've got a Floodgate you can reset the next turn. And then you've got, you know, Mantis, Dianea, even another Memello. So let's say we play for it, just for argument's sake. So we draw for turn. Ash, a little bit late. Better late than never. We'll link 3 into our Atpus, because that will guarantee to put us a monster in the graveyard, which is pretty cool, because then we go normal summon Dianea. Dianea's effect will revive, which will be Memello. Resolve Sarah's effect will set you a trap hole card. Doesn't really matter which one, so we'll go with Gravediggers. If you're worried about Nibiru or something, you obviously leave Gravediggers in the deck. It's not a major issue. And then what you can do here is you can activate the Holotea, and because you've activated the trap card, Sarah will trigger. Now keep in mind, we had this set the last turn, so none of this, oh, you had it set the previous turn, we just activated the turn it's set. It's like, no, we're all good. And then this will bring us out, I'll probably go for Strength, so let's go for Atrax. And then what you're kind of sitting on here is your Atpus is buffing everything, and you've already got a Sarah on the board. So ultimately, what you probably want to get rid of is, let's get rid of the Memello, Holotea, and Sarah. Keep in mind that we've bounced 2 cards, we've banished cards, we've done whatever we need to. We'll go into a second Atpus. Now, as far as I'm aware, Atpus is not a once per turn to be buffing attacks, it's just like continuous. So we've got a 38 there, 38 there, 38 there, and a 37 there. And it's just like, okay, cool, buff. And if your opponent somehow survives it, you've got Sarah to go there, and then you can leave the Atrax on the board. So you've got plenty of options, and you'll have a Holotea in the graveyard, so that you can banish the Holotea in the graveyard to summon back the Dianea, and the Dianea will then let you reset one of your whole cards you've already used. So, really kind of cool and really kind of interesting. I really like the deck. I like the idea of the Therions. The issue is it takes up 2 spots in the extra deck. Yes, there's a couple of flex spots because you do play Prosperity, but it really comes down to personal preference and kind of like if you want to play it that way or if you want to play it a little bit of a different way. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. If you have any questions at all, please put them in the comments down below. I will be more than happy to answer them for you. As absolutely always, guys, stay safe and of course, happy dueling.